Best film made on partition. One of the best films made in India. Best film made in 1970s. In case of the film under discussion today, these are not some vacuous headlines on its DVD cover. But these are legitimate claims that this film can make. We are, of course, talking about Garm Hava. Garm Hava was released in May 1974. It is directed by M.S. Sathyu. Story and screenplay by Kaifi Azmi and Shama Zaidi. Dialogues by Kaifi Azmi. Story by Ismat Chughtai. The film has a stellar cast, which includes Balraj Sahni, A.K. Hangal, Geeta Kak, Yunus Parvez, and many, many more talented actors. The film deals with the plight of a North Indian family, North Indian Muslim family to be specific, Mirza family, in post-partition India in 1947-48. As the protagonist, mainly Balraj Sahni, deals with the dilemma of whether to move to Pakistan or stay behind, the film details the slow disintegration of his family and the plight of Muslims in post-partition India. On its release, critics loved it. They continue to love it. It was nominated in the competition section of Cannes Film Festival and Chicago International Film Festival. This is a big deal. Back home, it swept all the writing gongs at the Filmfare Awards and the Silver Lotus Award for Best Story at National Film Awards India. This is Garm Hava.
Yes, so it's a good suggestion, I would say. And Garam Hawa was a great watching experience. A lot of great performances all around. It's a well-made movie. It's a hard-hitting story. Uh, for not just because of the setting of it with the religious and political unrest of the time, but also for any given family, I would say, who could be struggling. I think this film is gonna be relatable in more ways than I can think about. So pretty good choice.
Yeah, it's a terrific film. I don't know why I didn't watch it before. I must confess, this was my first viewing. I had read about it, but then only because of the high praise. Usually, I don't go near films which come with high praise because there is always that risk of disappointment at the end, and which is why I kind of keep my distance. And also, without knowing the story, I was building few expectations or preconceived ideas about the film. None of those ideas came to fruition, thankfully. So I was happy. But then at the same time, this is a very, very well made film. And I think everyone should watch it. And I maybe at this point, I think we should tell people that this film is available on YouTube. Like entire film is available on YouTube. You don't even have
Yes,
any, you don't need to have any OTT subscription.
correct.
Um, Full film is available on YouTube and fairly good copy of it. Yeah, it's not a bad
Was
copy
it
at all.
really? I was actually uh, so I came to know that this film was recently restored and re-released in theaters. There were some special screenings, I guess, about 10 years ago. So it's like 40th anniversary, I believe, close to 40th anniversary. So I was looking for a restored copy. I don't know, the one that I watched didn't look like it was a restored copy. So one of the first things that we notice in the movie is actually the first scene of the movie is when he's saying goodbye to his sister, I think, if I
Hmm.
remember correctly.
Yeah, that's the opening scene.
And so they are leaving Agra. I think this is where the movie is based,
Hmm.
correct? So Agra, they're leaving and they're going crossing the newly formed international border between India and Pakistan. So they're moving to at that point of time was West Pakistan. So they're going to West Pakistan. I don't know. I think there was West Pakistan. Anywho, and he at the end of that goodbye, he's standing there on the train platform and the train is moving away from him and then we see sort of a side view of his face. He's standing right there and then there is train, going past him. He doesn't just wave goodbye and then turn around. No, he's standing there and he stands there for more than a few seconds because he probably thinks that maybe this is the last time I'm going to see, or last time I saw my sister. And this whole framing of that was captivating to me for sure. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this something is moving in the background
Mm.
constantly, and he's just standing still there. That things are moving past him, and but he's just right
Mm.
there. So then I got really interested that okay, what else this director is gonna bring to the table? Now, if we so this was MS Sathyu, his first directorial venture, but in the past he was an art director, and he has won awards as an art director for a 1965 film, if I'm not mistaken, called Hakikat. It was a Chetan Anand movie.
Chetan film, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a very well-known war movie between India and China, that
Mm.
war, 1962, if I'm not mistaken. And he won art director for that movie. And Satyu previously comes from theater background. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, then he understands how to set up a scene, that how what pieces you're going to place around on stage, that if audience is looking at this, how their eyes could be moving around and then see what's going on and keep it alive. This accomplishes very well in this movie. So, in addition to that train sequence, there is another sequence which actually repeats three times in the movie. It's the diner, not the diner, so the dinner
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah.
And the first time, it zooms out,
Yeah.
right? And then you see this big family
Yeah.
sitting around it, and they all, you know, uh, joking around,
Mm.
talking about the
Mm.
day, and then enjoying the food. And then you see the same dinner scene, like in the middle of the movie. Now the
Yeah.
family has shrunk.
Yeah.
And again in the end of the movie, really close to the end of the movie. Now there's
Yeah.
like only four people left.
Yeah.
So how to create that impact, how to create that emotion that eventually the family is shrinking. How to create this. So this is where I think MS Satyu really he knows how to wield this sword and then create this emotion in audience. And there is a couple of more, but I don't know if you have any thoughts about this.
No, I think that scene stayed with me, especially the last time around when it is noticeable, how small the families become. And clearly, yeah, there are fewer people now, yeah, around the food. It's not a table. Yeah, it's Indian sitting, so people are sitting on floor. But at the same time, at the beginning of the scene, yeah, you see like a full house, but then it's not a full house anymore. It is noticeable. Absolutely, it is heartbreaking. But that's what it is. For context, I think we should maybe give some context to people. So this is story. Um, Film was obviously made in 70s, early 70s. The story is set in 1947, 48, to be precise. That makes this film as a period film. And that also kind of informs the understanding of everyone. For example, when you mentioned that in that moment, he thought that probably he's seeing his sister for the last time. I don't know if that was really the thought because people were coming and going. Okay, they needed to go through certain hurdles, but then they thought that, okay, we are just from this nation. Now they are going to a neighboring nation. And we see people traveling to from one nation to another nation all the time. Train is going. That means maybe it's possible. But we don't know now because now we are watching this in, let's say we are watching this in 70s. So in 70s, we don't know that because we know that what happened after that, that things were not that easy. These exchanges were not that easy. And that kind of makes it even more heartbreaking that you are losing family members. And clearly it's, yeah, means what you noticed, it's possible that he's going to see his sister for the last time. This could be the last viewing of his sister. And how long this has to go on, because now he's almost like a battle hardened individual, because this is not the first family member that he has waved goodbye to. Okay, there were a few other family members that he did this. His friends are doing it. Everyone, it's in the air. So that makes it even more, I think, cutting. You almost feel like yeah, I mean, it's kind of wrenching your heart that, okay, what he is going through. And I think Balraj Sahni is like a terrific choice, absolutely brilliant choice. I think he has taken this role to another level. Means what was on the page, what was in Satyu's mind, I don't know, but then Balraj Sahni took it to another level. So I think kudos to that. Uh, Coming back to story. So the story is that there is a, because this is not an immigrant story. This is not a refugee story. This is slightly different. The reason I'm saying this is different because these are people who lived here, and suddenly now someone else is telling them that, you know what, you should not live here, you should live there. And through active or passive voices, they are building a case that you should live there. And it's not that they're not getting it, but it's not easy to just pick up and go anywhere. It's not easy when you've lived at this place for this far. There is one very small reference. Now, this is a literary reference that I'm going to give. Is there is a book by Dr. Rahi Masum Raza, okay, who wrote the screenplay of Mahabharat and I think dialogues for a few other films. So
Yes.
he has a novel called Adha Gaon. So Adha Gaon is like a sprawling novel, but then I think that novel also talks about similar concepts. So in Adha Gaon, now again I've read the excerpt and interpretation of Adha Gaon. But then in Adha Gaon, so there is a story. So that story actually talks directly to what Balraj Sahni is going through in his head. In Adha Gaon, so there is partition. Half of the village is now in Pakistan, half of the village is in India. There is an old gentleman, very, very old, okay, who is
So
literally,
the new international border is through going
yes,
through the town. Wow.
yes, almost, almost, not like, but then
Right, right,
almost,
right,
yeah.
right, right. Yes.
And which is where, so there is a gentleman, Muslim gentleman, very old. He's literally staring in the eyes of the death. So that Muslim gentleman, he is seeing everyone is going on the other side of the border. Finally, few youngsters from the village, Muslim youngsters. So they come and they say that we will help you. Do you want to go there? We will help you. Don't worry. I mean, you don't have to worry about anything. Yeah, we will ensure you just have to come with us. We'll go. He said, no, that's not a problem. I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
because I have lived here, and which is when they said that it may not be safe. He said, I'm staring in the eyes of the death. Do I care about safety? Do you really think I care about? I mean, I should care about safety.
Wow.
That's one. Number two, he says that uh, when I these days I get these premonitions of death, and I kind of daydream, and then entire life kind of flashes in front of my eyes. I don't see the religious places. I don't see Makkah and Medina and all that, or even this mosque. I see my village. I see my old house.
Wow. Wow. So
I'll
this
stop here.
whole,
Yeah. So,
yeah,
so
yeah.
immediately I felt the connection to that story that it's not
Right.
that easy to just leave.
No. Yeah, so now thinking about what you mentioned also that the guy in the uh, story that you just mentioned, he's like, no, this is where I lived. There is coming back to Satyu's art direction. There is a I had not seen Garam Hava, but I had seen one scene of Garam Hava
Hmm.
a long time ago, I think when I was a teenager. So that was that scene when the old lady in the house and they are about to lose their house and they have to move somewhere with this new rental place and they are looking for her in this house.
Yeah.
And I have lived in such
Yes.
houses, like
Yeah.
over a summer or something, my extended
Yeah.
family. And there are some places that I saw maybe once, but I never went there because it's such a big house. You just
Correct.
don't need to go there.
Correct.
And it's completely possible that someone could hide in one of these places. And then everybody would go lose their mind that, okay, where is this person? Because she or he was there.
Yes.
The art direction that I think what Satyu did here, that he could have had like some average director could have been like, oh, like a daughter goes in one room and oh, she's
Hmm.
not there. Son goes in the other room, oh, she's not there. And somebody else goes in the other room. No, what he does, he places camera uh, somewhere in this big house, and then the camera is moving around all over the place that oh you see the daughter is running here, then she climbs down. Then you see the son over here. Then you see the granddaughter, and then you see, and so on and so forth. So it's a big sort of camera movement which places the enormous establishment or enormous abode this is,
Mm-hmm.
and it again puts the viewer in that situation that, oh, you know what, this is really a big place, and it's very possible
Hmm.
that they are really having a hard time finding
Hmm.
this old lady in the house.
Hmm.
So I was really amazed. I mean, I had seen the scene before, and it stuck with me that, oh, somebody was just hiding, and she was like, no, this is my house. I grew up here. Not grew up here, but I lived here my entire life. And you're asking me to leave? This is my house. You can't do that to me. So again, that again, the camera movement of it is just hit harder this time than my previous memory of it.
Interesting. Interesting. Do you want to talk about Geeta Kak's character? So
Yeah, we
Geeta
can do
Kak,
that.
for
Hmm.
context,
Go
Geeta
for it.
Kak plays the daughter in the family. So Balraj Sahni is the head of the family, and Geeta Kak is his doting daughter. And Geeta Kak story kind of drives the rest of the story. We should not say that, but then Geeta Kak, towards the end of the film, brings the catharsis. Um, but her story is very important. Her story has the least political connotations. It is a very human story. At the same time, every political, or for that matter, every social event has some ripple effect on her life. So that is what we see, and the helplessness of the character is again very well portrayed by her character, by Geeta Kak.
I think Geeta Kak's story, I completely agree that it's very pivotal and very uh, it's inherent to the whole film. What I also think is her story is very similar, or her at least the character is very similar to Balraj Sahni's character as well. So over the period of time, I'm watching this and I'm getting heartbroken scene after scene that,
Hmm.
come on, at one point of time, come on, Balraj Sahni, you have to, wake up and smell the coffee because, come on, man, you see, you know, you have people are changing up, but
Hmm.
he's a optimist. He's a believer
Hmm.
that,
Hmm.
oh, God will come and then fix this. If I'm good, good things will happen to me. If I'm honest, I'm gonna get the reward. Geeta's character is similar. She's she also believes in that first love, right? And then she's like, okay, he's gonna come back and he will come to me. And then, but she gets disappointed, right? When the guy shows up and there are, things happen around it. But she doesn't get what she thought that, okay, I truly gave myself to this. It didn't happen. Now she does it the second time,
Hmm.
and then second guy, and then she also believes that, okay, I'm giving true love, and I'm gonna get something in return. So it doesn't pan out. So at this point of time, you see the father-daughter connection is not merely some ploy in the story. I think it is because they know each other so well and they understand each other so well because they're sort of very similar in how they are reacting to the circumstances around them. That is why I think what what happens to her actually sort of helps Balraj Sahni come up with, or the thought process, I believe, is the seed of it that happens in the very final scene of the movie. The optimism that comes out of it, the seeds of those are sort of from what he witnesses with his daughter. Are we going there?
We are going there. But okay, what happens in the film? I think because this is 50-year-old film, I think we can give them the storyline. So what happens in the
Yes.
film is that Amina is the character played by um, actress Geeta Kak. Okay, Amina is in love with a handsome young boy. Unfortunately, he migrates to Pakistan due to family compulsions, due to certain political compulsions. Then She is heartbroken, but then at the same time, one part of her finally, yeah, she finds love in her life by in the form of character. I forgot the name of the character, but it is played by Jalal Aga. And then again, she is happy and she is hopeful in her life. But again, due to certain business, family, political compulsions, Jalal Aga also migrates to Pakistan. And which is when she is heartbroken again, but this time um, she she is devastated. Well, let's put it this way, and she causes self harm. She commits suicide, and that's the part Jatin was referring to. Balraj Sahni's character does not commit suicide in the end because Balraj Sahni's character also has a journey, also has various heartbreaks on the way, but Balraj Sahni's character decides to take a different turn, decides to
Yes,
take a optimistic turn,
that's right.
and yeah, that is towards the end of the film. That's the climax. Uh, and I think we should just expand on that. And this is again Jatin's theory
No, no,
that these
you're
two
right.
characters are kind of each other's soulmates, in a way, soulmates, and then they are having their own journey. But then, um, what the destiny of Amina's character becomes a portent, becomes a lesson
Correct.
for Salim,
That's right.
her father, that no, this is not the path. Means
Yes,
this is means I
yes,
although means I am hoping that Allah will take care of me, but then this is not the path even Allah will like,
correct,
and
correct.
I'm not going to take up that path.
No,
And
definitely, it's a good.
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So which is why I thought no, I actually liked your interpretation, and I thought I should just kind of put it to words because I understood what you were saying, but then I thought I
But
think
if
we should
somebody
give the
hasn't
story also.
seen, yeah,
Yeah,
if
I think
somebody
we should
hasn't seen,
give
they wouldn't know what I'm
correct.
talking about. I agree.
Yes.
I agree. No, no, I appreciate that. It's a, it's true. What I also liked about Geeta, what the way I think she played. There is this one scene in the middle of the movie where the Jalalaga's mother visits, and they're going around shopping, correct? And then she's assuming that okay, because all of these clothes and whatnot is for me because she has come here to take me with her so I can go over and then marry Jalalaga. But apparently Jalalaga that it's for somebody else because Jalalaga is already I think either getting married or already married to
Mm,
somebody else. So that one moment when she says, "Oh, it's for Jalal's girl," the
mm,
mother says Jalal's girl, and there's a close up on Geeta, and then she suddenly just the entire happiness is just vanished in that
yeah,
one
yeah.
second, and then she just keeps quiet, turns around, and walks away. I think there is a reason why she received a souvenir, which was a the three-part award, right? I mean, in the national integration, correct? What is it called? Yeah, National Film Award. So there was a Best Director, Best Picture, and then Geeta was awarded a souvenir for her acting in this movie. So there is a reason behind this.
I think Balraj Sahni has to be the top of the at the top of his
Yes.
game. I don't know, but then I most of these actors they come from this IPTA movement, Indian People's Theatre Association. So I believe they all most of them knew each other very well, and they also
Yeah.
had faith in what MS Sathyu is doing. So that also helps. But still, I think Balraj Sahni is whole this performance especially is I don't know how to describe it because it is kind of understated. At the same time, you see like full rainbow of emotions. Yeah, there are certain genuinely amusing comic moments, and there are genuine moments where he's heartbroken and or he feels strongly about something. Either of the two. And he's a confused father, and so I think this is again a very well written role, but then I think Balraj Sahni is maybe at the top of his game, especially in this film. This is absolutely brilliant performance by any actor, and you don't see any mannerisms, you don't see any trickery that he suddenly he has put on weight. He's walking differently. He's there are unusual hand gestures, or there is unnecessary I don't know, fake accent, or for
Hmm.
nothing. Means you can't
Hmm.
really. You feel like, okay, he must be the guy. Like he must be the guy who was there. Yeah, so you genuinely, that's the believability that he has achieved. I was blown by the like acting by Balraj Sahni. Geeta's character, obviously, I think you said what you said, and I 100%, I completely agree.
No, Balraj Sahni, I think definitely that's the throne, or that's the stone, that's the foundation that this whole movie sits on. His acting and the way he reacts. And you are absolutely right. There is no physical aspect that he that was brought in to make this character work. No, I think just like you said that when he when he hears the what's the name? Yusuf, somebody, the actor?
Yusuf Parvez.
Uh,
Yusuf
Yusuf
Parvez.
Parvez, right. Yusuf Parvez, like technically the
Brilliant
villain,
actor,
right, of the
but
movie.
brilliant actor.
Yeah,
Absolutely brilliant
exactly.
actor.
Exactly. And he's like making this snarky
Hmm.
comment, right?
Hmm.
Hey, but didn't he
Hmm.
leave? Why
Hmm.
should I give you the loan? And then he just like looks at him, and then he wants to like maybe I don't know, stab him or something, but but he's just like, okay, I'm gonna be the good guy, and I'm gonna be quiet.
That's the
So
beauty of the
he,
film. It is not a
it,
Hindu-Muslim film. So
yes,
the snarky character is
exactly.
also played by a Muslim.
Correct, 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 correct. Exactly right.
Balraj Sahni is considered as one of the best actors India has ever produced. Garm Hava makes this argument even stronger. But people say that the role in Garm Hava of Salim Mirza took a toll on him. I'm always suspicious of such claims, partly because there is a forlorn romanticism in that notion. It creates a great backstory which may not always be true. And I also find it difficult to believe such things in case of experienced actors like Balraj Sahni. They know their craft, but the role really took a toll on him. His son Parikshit Sahni wrote a book on his father, The Non-Conformist Memories of My Father, Balraj Sahni. In the book, Parikshit Sahni gives us glimpse in the life and the final days of his father. The book covers a period of filming of Garam Hava 2. At this point, we must remind our listeners that Balraj Sahni died before the release of the film. Playing Salim Mirza, an alienated Muslim in post-partition India, the film gave him a sense of deja vu, as the actor himself also was a refugee in India, having moved out of Pakistan after the independence. The film also underlined a father's grief when his daughter, played by Geeta Kak in film, commits suicide, deserted by the man she loves. It resonated a similar trauma in Balraj Sahni's life, as his young daughter Shabnam had died of brain hemorrhage following a disastrous marriage. Balraj Sahni was a great believer in Stanislavski, who spoke of emotional memory and sense memory and revisiting an experience in your life to make the scene appear more truthful. Acting techniques. He went through those painful memories of the death of his daughter to enact that scene. His daughter Shabnam had a bad marriage. She came back to live with her parents. She felt unwanted and had a nervous breakdown. Then one day she suffered a brain hemorrhage and she died. Balraj Sahni was a broken man. He didn't recover from the grief. Shabnam, his daughter, passed away in 1972. Balraj Sahni felt somewhere responsible for her death. While his performance is considered as the crowning glory in his acting career, heartbroken Balraj Sahni passed away a day after finishing the dubbing for Garm Hava, a year after the death of his daughter. So the role really took a toll on him. That part is true.
Yes, that's what I heard too. But I might have misread that what his daughter did. So I thought probably someone said, or maybe I misread that she also did something to herself, like Geeta does in the movie, but probably not. But anyway, it doesn't matter. What matters is this Stanislavski that you were talking about, Konstantin Stanislavski. So that's a people always talk about with Amir Khan and Al Pacino and everybody, they always talk about this method acting, correct? But there is another school of thought that it is a sort of a from a memory you bring something, and then you play that part, and that becomes more natural. You sort of reacting to what's happening there. And one actor that does that is Jack Nicholson, and Jack Nicholson doesn't do method acting. He does the Stanislavski method. So, anywho, we'll maybe if we talk about Chinatown, we'll talk about this. But
Yeah.
but for now, you're right on the money there. That's what Balraj Sahni did. And Sathyu, what I read was when daughter passed away, Balraj Sahni's real daughter passed away. Sathyu was with him, and I think Sathyu came to know about this event, and then they were away from home, Balraj's home. So he asked Balraj Sahni that, hey, we need to go home. So I'm not sure if he told him that this is about your daughter, but he said, okay, we have to go home. And then he took Balraj Sahni home. And then he remembers that he was standing outside and Balraj Sahni saw all these people outside of the house. And then he just walked into the house. And then when he went inside, then he saw his daughter. So when the time came to shoot this scene, uh, where Balraj Sahni is gonna find out that his own daughter, the character in the movie Garm Hava, is no more. So he asked him to uh, I don't know the details, but or I don't know how true this is, but I think he used not exploitative way, but sort of use that moment that if you remember, you know, what happened with your daughter, and I don't want you to cry or do anything, but all I want to do is look at your face. I want to see what happened. So this is where I think this from the memory, if something you have some trauma that you've suffered or some feeling that you have felt before, that I think Balrasani brings in that moment. And in that scene, we don't uh, there is the wrist we see, and then how the blood is kind of hiding behind it in the beginning, but then
Mhm.
eventually it comes out because I'm like, what's going on? But then when we see Balrasani's face, that's when it hits really, really hard.
Yeah.
So this was a very unusual sort of a backstory that kind of plays, and you understand as well that how one guy could do such a great performance because somewhere, and I believe the first time I heard something like this was actually from Shabana Azmi. I think she said somewhere that if I am in love with a character, I'm actually in love with that character. I'm living that life with that character. So I think she comes from the same family of this Kaifi Azmi and the Ipta that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So it's no surprise that Parasani could, hit a home run in that scene.
I think it is possible. Like in this case, it is possible. But then at the same time, I think that there is a craft to it, right? Yeah, in the acting, there is a craft to it. You kind of put on few things. There are techniques. But yeah, in this case, clearly that was the case, and this role really broke him.
Yeah, also the whole idea that when you mentioned that right after he finished dubbing, there was this
Hmm.
one line, I think Sathyu was saying, hey, we need to dub this one line. And then they had to arrange, bring people together to record all of this. And then all he has to do is like one line, okay? And then he did that. And then next day he just passed away, right? Sort of like, okay, my job on this earth is done,
It's done.
right? It's just the way, the timing of it. I mean, I'm not laughing at it. It's just sometimes
No,
it's kind of amazing, the way things sort of fall together for movies.
for films, absolutely. I think we've seen that so many times now. Easiest way to explain what screenplay is, it is an account of the story the way it would appear on screen. A bare bone story is at the mercy of imagination of the reader. Screenplay does not take that risk. Screenplay is more grounded. It is more matter of factly. Every action is described with details. Cinema is a medium which works well with ethos of show me and not tell me. Apart from the actions, one aspect that directors, cinematographers, and film editors look for is point of view, POV. If it is POV, point of view, of a character, the character would not be seen on screen. What you see on screen is what character would have seen. In most cases, writers leave the POV question open and allow makers certain liberties. Short breakdown of the scene is not always written in. That said, there are cases when writers state the POV explicitly. Choice of POV should come organically. It should come naturally to the story. If that flow is broken, storytelling becomes clunky. In Garm Hava, there are three scenes where choice of POV is noticeable. Scene 1. Balraj Sahni meets the banker to follow up on his loan application. Remember that one? Where Balraj Sahni says that why are you punishing us for the Muslims who fled to Pakistan and defaulted on your loans? Scene number 2. Balraj Sahni is looking for a place to move his family. The scene where prospective landlord demands a full year's rent in advance in case he flees to Pakistan without paying the outstanding rent. Scene 3. Farooq Sheikh's character is in a job interview. The interviewer suggests him, why don't you go to Pakistan? Things would be much easier for you there. आप पाकिस्तान क्यों नहीं चले जाते? And in all three scenes, you do not see the character face of the banker, landlord, or the interviewer. All you see is the face of Balraj Sahni and Farooq Sheikh, either saying their lines or reacting. The scenes hammer home what it wants to say very effectively. So scene works. This clearly was a creative choice and not an accident. But then why this creative choice was made? I would have loved to ask this question to MS Sathyu. We don't have any access to MS Sathyu. That said, in my research, I found a question of this nature, which was asked to MS Sathyu by Bharadwaj Rangan for Film Companion. MS Sathyu's response was this. That was a technique I used because there was no need for other characters to be shown. And they had a negative attitude and made statements like you should go to Pakistan without wasting your time here. I didn't want to put a face to such villains and give an identity to such people. So there you have it. It was a conscious, creative choice by MS Sathyu.
I agree. Yes, I would add one more scene to this. That was the one I was talking about earlier, where we see Geeta's face when Jalal Aga's mother says, and then she's the villain in that scene. So this is also goes to the I think Sathyu's confidence in his characters, right? I mean, in his actors, I would say.
The censor board sat over the certification for many, many months. Few political groups issued threats against its release. When they were processing the film, the production team, so they watched the film again as a part of the processing, and they all felt that this will not be passed by the censor board. It became a huge issue. Bal Thackeray, head of Shiv Sena, had threatened to burn down the cinema if the premiere was allowed, calling it pro-Muslim and anti-India film. On the day of the premiere, Thackeray was persuaded to attend a special screening of the film. But he insisted on watching the film before its release. So he wanted to watch it before anybody else could watch it. So a special screening was arranged for him. Verdict, he really liked the film. He felt that the message was well conveyed and he had no reservations whatsoever. He used his choice words and then he said, this is what I want. I want Muslims to be the part of the mainstream. He was, of course, talking about the conclusion of the film. On the other hand, L.K. Advani wrote in the newspaper which he either owned or edited that this film is either produced or funded by Pakistan. Later, when he became Minister for Information and Broadcasting, Sathyu met him in Madras at a film festival. And he confronted him. But which is when Advani coyly apologized. He said that he wrote it without seeing the film. Still, the question remains how the film got the censor certificate. Did the censor board have change of heart? Not really. When the film was stuck with the censors, Sathyu, who had access to Indira Gandhi, approached her. She saw the film. She admired it. She ensured the release of the certificate. The censorship certificate came through, but during that waiting period of 10 or 11 months, the film distributors walked away. In the meantime, fortuitously, it was premiered in Paris, where it was recommended for Cannes Film Festival in competition section, where it was later nominated for Golden Palm. It was also selected for Oscars screening in the foreign film category, which is when some of the distributors returned. So there is that happy ending to the story.
So when I heard about, I also read a little bit about this Bartak objecting to the movie. I was like, okay, well, if anything, it probably helped promote the movie. Shama Zaidi, she did was an interview on a podcast, and there was a clip about when she starts talking about how LK Advani said that, oh, this was funded by Pakistan. And I was like, oh, LK Advani. I was like, okay. And then the magazine that you mentioned, I think they called The Organizer. I think it's a RSS magazine, and he was a film critic, LK Advani, and he would
Okay.
regularly write about movies.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, where are these, issues? I wanna know, because I'm a fellow film buff. I wanna know, what other guys thinking about. So it's pretty fascinating that, oh, okay, cool. If somebody could send me a link, where I could see all of these LK Advani's articles on the movies,
I
it'd be
I
interesting to see.
must say that on record that I could not find the link to the article, and which is why I
Right.
didn't write the name of the publication, because I wanted to read the article myself and then decide. But then the news of the article is there, not the article itself, and that's the reason I
Correct.
avoided mentioning it.
Sure, sure.
But you- so see, I think these controversies, I think they have different objectives. So they are not always, and I don't think producers always benefit from it, because it also depends on what the controversy is. I think there are days when producers, or if people feel threatened to go to the film hall, movie hall, they'll just not go. And that's the kind of, nobody wants that. I think people want, yeah, to your film to be shown. What was problematic was everyone knew that this film was actually funded by Film Corporation, which is
That's
the,
right.
yeah,
That's
so which
right.
is kind of government of India's arm,
Yeah.
which funded making the
Yes.
films. So that part or that information was in public domain. So it was easily verifiable. So there was no need to write this. So that was the painful part. What Bal
Exactly.
Thackeray did again, it is to be now in hindsight, I think it is more attention seeking than anything else. I think that is how I would consider it. At the same time, I must mention that the ending was always this. They did not change their ending to appease any politicians. In
Right.
the ending, so you see the character of Farooq Sheikh says that no, I am an Indian. I'm Muslim, but I am Indian, and I will live here and I will improve things for myself and for others. And that is when, so figuratively, they have shown him literally going into mainstream. There are hordes of people walking, and then he also joins them. Now Balraj Sahni is with him, and Balraj Sahni not just encourages him, Balraj Sahni also joins. Like the feeble old figure of Balraj Sahni that we see also joins the mainstream. And so that even I was very happy to see that ending. Any other ending would have broken my heart, would have depressed me for the day. But then when I saw that, I felt like, okay, yes, this is what we want, right? You have live here, change the things, and like debate, discuss, argue, win the arguments, win the hearts. And it's a shame that you need to do this because this is your country too. But there is no other way. Looks like we will have to go through this. But leaving the scene is not the best option here. And so that's the part I liked. And then I also liked this part that this was the ending all along. They didn't change the ending to appease any of the groups.
No, it was not changed. You're right. And leaving the scene, as you mentioned, like leaving and go to Pakistan would have been what Geeta's character does in the movie, that she commits suicide, right? So that would be like, okay, I'm give up, right? And I'm not gonna fight anymore.
Hmm.
That's how he sees it, and then those are the seeds.
I think this is one of those partition films which is which is which doesn't have a single shot from the border, from India-Pakistan border. It is that sort of partition film. Partition film imagery, which is kind of etched into everyone's mind, is from the film Gandhi, where you see that riot breaking out for the first time, where one person, we don't know who that person is, but then he is the one who is pelting a stone. There are no such moments. So this is a partition film, but this is a partition film inside the furnace. This is not the partition film which is outside, from where you can see in. This is inside. This is a slow burn partition film, which is the part I really liked. In Europe, every year they at least make 24 films just on Holocaust. Okay, various aspects of Holocaust. And for means either they are obsessed with Holocaust or they just love, it's kind of requiem. They just love to grieve about Holocaust. We don't see that in India as much about partition. So, which is also why I think this film is it kind of stands the test of time, because not all the issues are resolved. Like some of these issues are still there. Yeah, we see exactly same, like echoes of exactly same sentiments even now in India in 2024. And which is why I think this also stands the test of time. And that is not the great thing. Means as a film, it stands the test of time, but then as a story or as a spirit of the film also, it stands the test of time. And so which is not the great kind of message out there, that see, things have not changed massively. Things are very much, not very much, but then slightly, there are echoes. There are like
Well,
audible echoes. Let's put it this way. Yeah.
well, the wind is more scorching, right? Garam. It's even more garam now. The hawa.
It is more garam, yes. That's our show. Just to remind you, you are listening to Mangala Talkies. And in this episode, we talked about Hindi film Garm Hava, the best film made on partition. Hope you liked what you listened. And if you like what you listened, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. That will make our producers very happy. And if you want to rave the show, you can always write a comment or a review. We would love to read that. See you in the next episode. Until then, bye.